Hello, it is me, Becky. Thank you for stopping by for yet another Bookmas video. Today I'm going to share with you some 2026 book releases that I found that I'm interested in reading. There were quite a few for 2026 that I was interested in, which surprises me because this year there weren't a whole lot that I was interested in reading, quite frankly. So I think I had some that went into July. I didn't find any that went beyond that. So I may end up doing another video in 2026 for books releasing toward the latter half of the year. But these are some that I found. I'm going to go in order of what Amazon said was the release date. These are all subject to change. They're just what the release date had at the moment that I found them. I'm not going to share with you like in-depth synopsis. I'm just going to share with you like a brief little paragraph of what caught my eye about these. I found two books releasing on January 6th that interested me. The first is The Swan's Daughter by Roshani Chokshi. I've read this author's Gilded Wolves series and really enjoyed it, and this sounded like something I would be interested in. Prince is only as good as his beating heart, and a maiden is only as good as her honest word. But when love and truth become entangled, the two must learn to survive together. So pretty vague there, but it sounds like two people who are reluctant to work together, you know? Anyway, this cover also appealed to me. Let's be real, a lot of these, the cover spoke to me first and then I read the synopsis. So I'm willing to give this a shot because I've read the author's other work. Next up was Rings of Fate by Melissa De La Cruz. I've heard of this author, but I don't think I've ever read anything from her. This is about a barmaid who doesn't believe in fairy tales, and a prince cursed to live one find themselves pretending to be engaged in order to get what they both want. So again, this sounds like maybe reluctant allies, a fake engagement, fake relationship type fantasy romance vibes. On January 13th, I found Graceless Heart by Isabel Ibanez. I've read several of this author's books and I've enjoyed all of them. So I'm interested into reading this one. I've also seen that this is going to have like sprayed edges and this cover is just very beautiful. This is about a sculptress named Ravina who enters into this deadly competition held by Florence's most renowned immortal family. But when competition leads to her becoming a captive of this family, she is no longer just a prisoner, she is a pawn in a political game. So this sounds really interesting. Takes place in Florence, which is something new from Isabel Ibanez. She does seem to like to write books set in different countries, which I really think is a very interesting and cool concept. On January 20th, I am looking forward to The Elsewhere Express by Samantha Soto Yamboyo. I read Water Moon by her this year, absolutely loved it, so this sounds like something I would definitely be interested in. Well, this again will have sprayed edges also, which, let's be real, I do like sprayed edges. When you lose your way, step aboard the Elsewhere Express, a train that will take you to your life's purpose. So this seems like it's going to have a lot of deep, meaningful stuff within the story. And I hope that it's just as good, if not better, than Water Moon. On January 21st, I found A Spell for Drowning by Rebecca Ferrier. This is a historical fantasy about forgotten sirens, mischievous sea gods, and lore from days long since past. So seems like a seafaring adventure. I do like historical fantasies, sirens, great. I don't know like what kind of mythology it's inspired by, but I'm willing to give it a go. Plus this cover is really pretty. On February 1st, I found Soul Strings of the Sea by Sienna Cragen. When an adventurous water elf and a prince's souls are bound, their kingdoms are torn apart. That's literally what captured my eye about it, is a adventurous sea elf, pretty much. On February 17th, I found Agnes Ubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. This is about a woman who is running a cat shelter in 1920s Montreal. She has to turn to a grouchy but charming magician to help her save her cat shelter. So hopefully this is freaking cute because the cover is cute. And a mystical cat shelter, that just sounds like something I would enjoy. I do have an arc of this. Have I read it yet? No. Then I found 5 books releasing on February 24th. I found A Secret in the Garden by Janine O'Reilly. This is about a desperate botanist who is looking for donations to save her job when she approaches this manor with this really rich billionaire. He offers her a deal in exchange for his donation. If she will restore his abandoned and crumbling observatory to its former glory, he will give her the money, but she can't have any help doing it and she cannot leave. However, when she starts repairing this conservatory and this garden, she realizes that the gardens might not be dead. There's something alive within them. So this sounds kind of cool, but kind of terrifying as well. The Wicked and the Damned by Rebecca Robinson also releases on February 24th. This is the sequel to The Serpent and the Wolf, I think it was called. I really enjoyed that story. I think I probably gave it 4 or 4.5 stars. But I loved the characters in it, but it ended off on a cliffhanger, and I've been waiting for this book to release so that I could continue it. I feel like I would have to reread the first book in order to read the second book because some of it has slipped my mind. This one, Vasa, the female main character, she is torn from her husband and returned to her kingdom where she is used as a political pawn. So I like that this has an already established married couple in it. I need more fantasy romances where the story starts out with an already married couple, or, you know, their arranged marriage is what begins the story and moves them forward. I love fantasy romances where you follow an already married couple instead of, you know, following them as they hate each other and then they get married. I like seeing what comes after the marriage and the wedding, you know? Then I found The Legend of the Nine-Tailed Fox by Katrina Kwan. This kind of gives off K-pop Demon Hunter vibes. It also reminds me of The God and the Gwisen, which I really loved from this year, so it intrigued me for that. This is a fantasy romance between a nine-tailed fox and the demon who captured her. They are banished to the underworld where they must work together to escape the circles of hell. So that just sounds interesting and fun, and as long as they have a good dynamic and some witty banter, I'd be down for it. Then we have Cleopatra by Sarah Alarifi. Now, I did try to read this author's, I think it was called Fablebound, and I did not like that book. So this one is a fictionalized story of Cleopatra from her perspective, and I think it might have a little bit of magical realism in it as well. And then I found This Vicious Sea by Sarah C. Davies. This is about a blood-soaked pirate on her quest for freedom when she meets a siren prince caught between vengeance and answers. So I like that this has a siren prince. That's something I don't read about too often either. On March 3rd, I found Mayhem and the Mortal by Shonora Williams. I've read another book by this author and liked it, so I'm excited to see what this one has to offer. I've also seen that this will have pretty sprayed edges. This is about Zara, who must cross a nightmarish landscape in order to find and save her sister with the help of her walking red flag sorcerer guide. On March 7th, I found The Black Magnolia Society by Monica Lee Bullock. Now, this sounds a little outside my comfort zone. This sounds more like a thriller, but it also gives like a vampiric thriller. I don't know if they're vampires. They could be witches. They could be werewolves. I honestly don't know what they are, but this cover is appealing. In post-Civil War Alabama, a historian discovers that the most elegant ladies of the Black Magnolia Society are not what they seem. That sounds intriguing. March 10th is The Scattered Spires by Cassidy Ellis Salter. This is a YA high fantasy about 4 rivals who must work together in this deadly competition to inhabit this 4 spires castle that is home to arcanists from 4 different disciplines: blood, bone, stone, and botany. So this wasn't on my radar until I saw somewhere that this had some like sentient plant magic to it, or a sentient garden or something like that, and that is what intrigued me about this story. When it says deadly competition, it kind of throws me off because I hate competition books because they're all deadly competitions, but for our main character, they're not that deadly because they all survive. So I hate when books put in deadly competition. You know your main character's not going to die, so it's really not that deadly. But I digress. The Magical Garden. That sold me. Also on March 10th is Ruinous Creatures by Jessie Cole Jackson. In a sanctuary for magical creatures, magic is born from their bones. When Adela accidentally awakens the power to siphon magic from these bones, she accidentally binds herself to a stranger who is intent on destroying the magic that she just awoke. So I don't know if this is adult or young adult, but I'm intrigued by the magical creatures. I love magical creatures. On March 24th, I found Aisha. Not sure if that's how it's pronounced or not. By Soroya Boyazawa. I probably butchered that name, sorry. This is a fictional history of Morocco's warrior princess, her strange magic, rebellious spirit, and her devastating romance. So I absolutely know nothing about this character. Never even heard of it. But all that sounds intriguing to me, and I do like learning about different cultures, gods, goddesses, mythologies, and whatnot like that. And I don't know anything about Morocco. So this would be a good starting point for me to learn something. On March 31st is The Faraway Inn by Sarah Beth Durst. Sarah Beth Durst is an author who I've really enjoyed most of the books I've read from her. She writes such unique stories. Lately, she's been very much in her cozy fantasy period, which I've been enjoying as well. This is a young adult cozy fantasy. This is about a teen girl who decides to spend her summer helping her aunt manage and fix up her quaint Vermont inn, but this fixer-upper has some secrets. So what those secrets are, I have no idea, but this cover is hella cozy and adorable, and I'm hoping that this is another hit for me. Then I found The Geo Magician by Jennifer Mandula. Now this one sounds freaking adorable and right up my alley of something I would like. This is about a Victorian fossil hunter who discovers a baby pterodactyl and she vows to protect it with the help of her former fiance. My dinosaur-loving little heart just leapt out of my chest when I read that. I was like, oh my god, please be adorable. Please, I beg you, I want to love this book so much. I found 4 books releasing on April 7th that appealed to me. First up is The Impossible Garden of Clara Thorne by Summer England. This is about Clara who must travel to the neighboring town of Dwindle to help them grow a garden in less than a month. For reasons, I guess. But she's harboring a secret in that her magic only works in her town and nobody else knows this. So I'm sure some shenanigans are going to ensue. I hope this is cute. This cover is mainly what drew me to this. But again, with the whole botany thing and the garden thing, let's hope. Then we have The Wicked Sea by Jordan Stephanie Gray. This is a fantasy romance about a mermaid who battles her hatred and lust for the warlock who saved her life. So sounds like maybe some hate to love going on. Doesn't really sound like enemies to lovers because I mean he saved her life. Then we have The Book Witch by Meg Schaefer, and let me just tell you, I know absolutely nothing about this book. Didn't even read the synopsis. It said Book Witch in the title. I have read Meg Schaefer's other book, The Wishing Game. I really loved that story. So I'm hoping that whatever this is, that I love it too. Because, spoiler alert, this will be one of my Black Hat Book Heaven book picks for the next 4 months of 2026. So I have an arc of it as well. So it's got some things going for it. I just hope it's good. Then we have Devil of the Deep by Felencia Jean Francois. Again, another seafaring story. This is about a naval lieutenant who watched the love of his life walk the plank and be forced to her death by the sea. And years later, he is on a mission to find this magical talisman that is said to be in the hands of a mermaid. And what he ends up finding is the woman he thought had died, the love of his life, she is now a pirate crewing her own ship, and she is protecting the mermaid who has this talisman. So this sounds freaking intriguing. Then I found 4 books releasing on April 21st. Witch Queen Rising by Savannah Stevens. This is about a reclusive witch who must return to New Orleans to take her place as the prime witch. That's literally all I read of the synopsis, and I thought, you know what? It's about a witch. Then we have 6 Bullets and a Crown by Alex Calder. This is another one that is supposed to have nice sprayed edges. This is about a woman who is hiding her power and hires a mysterious gunslinger to help her traverse a desert landscape. There seems to be this theme of books that I'm interested in this year about somebody who hires somebody to help them traverse a dangerous landscape. But this one sounds interesting because he's a gunslinger, so does it have some sort of like Old West feel to it? Because I do like that shit. Then we have Thistlemarsh, which is very hard for me to say. Thistlemarsh by Moray Corrigan. This is about a ramshackle estate where a poor orphan and a beguiling fairy collide in love, revenge, and ruin. So some forced proximity there, and this cover's pretty, and I kind of like the title Thistlemarsh, even though it's hard for me to say. Then we have this title's gonna be hard for me to say too, The Antiquarian's Object of Desire by India Holton. There we go. I loved the first book in this series, didn't really like the second book, but I want to, play out this series and see where it goes. This is about 2 antique professor best friends who have to pretend to hate each other in order to save their reputations. I don't know why, but best friends. Friends to lovers, baby, bring it on. And then I found 2 books releasing on April 28th. The first is We Burned So Bright by TJ Klune. This sounds like maybe a dystopian in which the world is ending because a black hole is approaching Earth. So these 2 married men sat out on a road trip from one end of the country to the next for some unfinished business. And along the way, they meet friends and discover things about their relationship that they haven't known previously in 40 years. So I like the fact that this is about older characters who have already been married. And it's TJ Klune. Hopefully it's cute and cozy with some deep undertones to it. Then we have King of Gluttony by Anna Wong. So this one is about Sebastian, who is the heir to a culinary fortune, and his childhood rival Maya, not sure which one it is. We're gonna read this. And when I say we, I mean me and my multiple personalities. On May 6th, I found Silk by KG Roos. All I know about this is it is a dark monster romance with a spider male main character. That's all I know. I think it might have some like BDSM elements to it. I did read the synopsis and I was like, damn, this sounds a little dark for me. But I'm willing to give it a go, okay? I'm intrigued. I like this freaking cover and I like the simple title, Silk. On June 16th, I found The Shrouded Queen by Ashley Tropia. I actually just got approved for an ARC for this one as well. This is a fantasy romance inspired by Egyptian mythology. That right there made me want to read it anyway. But it is about a princess and a slave who swap positions, and they both end up in sort of romances and their journeys parallel each other. So listen, I just heard fantasy romance inspired by Egyptian mythology and I don't care what it's about. I'm gonna read it. On June 17th, I found The Quillen Trials by Alara Ashwind. This is a young adult fantasy romance about a woman who has spent her life training to assassinate the prince of this kingdom. And in order to do so, she must enter into this competition to be chosen or to win the right to marry him to get close enough to achieve her mission. On June 23rd, I found Hunt the Ever Wild by Essie Kaiser. This is about Anya and Sai, who are both on this mission to hunt down this phoenix who will give them what they want. I guess if they hunt it or kill it or find it or something, it grants a wish maybe, I don't know. But they team up to each other, lying to each other about why they're hunting this phoenix. Because only one of them can win this wish or whatever. So why are they teaming up? Again, this has a magical creature to it. I kind of like this cover, not gonna lie. That's why I have it on this list. On June 30th, I found The River She Became by Emily Varga. This is about a relic hunter who is searching for an ancient fae relic that will restore the magic to her lands, and on this journey she must learn to trust her heart and her powers. On July 14th, I found To Drown a Witch by Lindsay Olson. This is about a criminal and a royal guard who are drawn into a hunt for a dangerous witch and its enemies to lovers. So we'll see if it's true enemies to lovers or if it's just like, oh, we don't like each other for some reason. I don't know. But it said in the synopsis for fans of Serpent and Dove, and I did like Serpent and Dove. So let's hope this is a good YA. And then on July 28th, I found Sea of Charms by Sarah Beth Durst. This is the third book in her Spell Shop series. This is about Marin, who we did meet in the Enchanted Greenhouse, and she is a supply runner. She ends up granting passage to this musician who is trying to flee the capital where the revolution has begun, and he ends up, you know, getting on her boat or whatnot, and she convinces him to pretend to be her boyfriend when she goes back to her home island. So, you know, some fake dating here. This also sounds like it's got some seafaring adventure, and hopefully we get some sentient plants in this one too. We got a sentient plant in the first one, lots of sentient plants in the second one, and I do know that one of her crew members is a sentient plant. So hopefully he makes an appearance in this. And that's it. Those are some books that I am interested in checking out in 2026. Let me know if any of these books are on your radar, or is there a book I didn't mention that you were looking forward to in 2026? But if you don't want to comment that, but would like to let me know that you made it to the end of this video, could you just leave me a calendar emoji, please? And until tomorrow's video, here's hoping that 2026 brings us some great books, and have a happy Bookmas. Bye.